Steelers Nation, drop everything you're doing right now. We've got massive developments coming out of the Steelers facility that you absolutely need to hear about. Championship-level adjustments are being made, injury updates on your favorite players just dropped, and the coaching staff is revealing secrets about what's been working these last few weeks. If you want to stay ahead of every single Steelers update, smash that subscribe button right now because we're breaking down everything you need to know daily. All right, let's dive right into what's happening in Pittsburgh. The Steelers just came off a statement win, and head coach Mike Tomlin sat down for his weekly press conference. And folks, he revealed some absolutely critical information about where this team is headed. First off, let's talk about something that's been quietly building over the last couple of weeks: the third quarter performance. You remember earlier this season when the Steelers would come out flat after halftime? Those days appear to be over. Against Buffalo, against Baltimore, and most recently against Miami, this team has been absolutely dominant in the third quarter. When reporters asked Tomlin what's changed, what magical adjustment they made, his answer was perfect. He said you can't always pinpoint one specific thing. Sometimes you have an agenda, a plan, and you just keep pounding away at it even when you don't see immediate results. Think about that for a second. This coaching staff believed in their process even when it wasn't producing wins right away. They kept knocking on the right doors, kept working in the right neighborhood, and now they're finally breaking through. That's the kind of patience and belief that separates championship organizations from pretenders. Tomlin emphasized that they haven't done anything drastically different in the last 2 weeks. They've just continued working, continued believing, and the results are finally showing up. That's leadership, Steelers fans. That's what a Super Bowl winning head coach brings to the table. He doesn't panic. He doesn't blow everything up after one bad game. He trusts the process, and that trust is now paying dividends on the field. But here's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the two lions in the room. Detroit is coming to town, and they're bringing one of the most dangerous running back duos in the entire National Football League. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have been absolutely torching defenses all season long. When asked about this dynamic duo, Tomlin didn't sugarcoat anything. He gave them their flowers. He talked about how Gibbs has that elite top-end speed that can break a play at any moment. One missed tackle and he's gone, 60 yards down the field before you can blink. Then there's Montgomery, who has that old-school running back vision, that ability to read blocks, hit the hole with authority, and punish defenders between the tackles. Together, these two complement each other perfectly, but Tomlin made sure to emphasize that it would be disrespectful to only talk about them as a tandem. These are elite individual talents who just happen to play together. And get this, as a collective unit, they've scored 21 rushing touchdowns this season. 21! That's absolutely insane. Tomlin's message was crystal clear. The Steelers' defense better come ready, and they better come prepared to stop the run. Now, speaking of preparation, let's shift gears to the offensive side of the ball because there's been some fascinating developments there too. You might remember after the Bills game, there were some rumblings about the pass catchers needing to get on the same page with the quarterback. There were reports that the receivers were challenged to show up, to be more consistent, to execute better. Well, guess what? Over the last 2 weeks, the passing game has been clicking like we haven't seen all season. Receivers are running crisper routes, the timing is better, and the offense just looks more seamless. When reporters asked Tomlin if this was a direct result of that challenge, he played it cool. He said he didn't know about the specific challenge they were referring to and suggested they ask the players directly. Classic coach speak, right? But reading between the lines, it's pretty obvious that accountability was demanded and the players responded. That's what you want to see. Veterans holding each other accountable and young players stepping up when challenged. Here's another tactical adjustment that's been flying under the radar, but is absolutely crucial to understanding why the offense has improved. The Steelers have been using significantly more 11 personnel over the last 2 weeks. For those who might not know, 11 personnel means one running back and one tight end on the field, which forces defenses to spread out and defend more space. When asked if this was suggested by the quarterback or if it was a coaching decision, Tomlin explained that personnel usage is always matchup dependent. He gave a brilliant example using the Miami game. The Dolphins don't have a ton of depth at cornerback, and their best defensive back, Minkah Fitzpatrick, actually plays nickel. So by going with 3 wide receiver sets, the Steelers forced Minkah out of his natural position and into a less comfortable spot. That's chess, not checkers, folks. That's the kind of strategic thinking that wins playoff games. Tomlin made it clear that these personnel decisions change week to week based on opponent tendencies and matchups, so don't expect them to run the same game plan against Detroit that they ran against Miami. This coaching staff adapts, and that adaptability is a huge reason why they're winning games right now. Let's talk about some roster moves because the Steelers made an interesting decision this week. They elevated Mecole Hardman from the practice squad and signed him to the active roster. Now, some of you might be thinking, who is this guy and why should we care? Well, Tomlin shed some light on what they've seen from Hardman over the last month or so that he's been in the building. First off, the dude can flat out run. He's got legitimate burner speed that can stretch defenses vertically. But here's what's really impressive. For a taller receiver, he can get in and out of his breaks really well. That's not common. Usually, taller guys have longer strides and struggle to change direction quickly, but Hardman has shown surprising agility. Plus, he's got NFL playmaking experience. He's been there, done that, caught passes in big moments. That experience is valuable, especially down the stretch and potentially in the playoffs. This could be a sneaky good addition that pays off in a huge way when the Steelers need a big play. Now let's address the question that every single Steelers fan has been asking. What's going on with TJ Watt? Is he going to play this week? Is he healthy? What's the latest? Unfortunately, Tomlin didn't have a ton of new information during this press conference. He admitted he'd been in a dark room in the back of the facility, probably watching film, and hadn't seen TJ yet that day. He said Watt might even be in the facility as they were speaking, but he simply didn't have any updates. Tomlin was trying to be transparent, which is appreciated, but it left us with more questions than answers. The good news is that Tomlin didn't rule him out. He didn't say TJ wouldn't practice this week. He just said he didn't have information yet. So here's what we can speculate. If TJ is in the facility, that's a positive sign. If he's going through any kind of treatment or evaluation, that means they're working toward getting him back. The Steelers are going to need their defensive leader if they want to shut down that explosive Detroit offense. Keep your fingers crossed, Steelers Nation. There's also been some controversy swirling around regarding a dry needling technique that was apparently used on one of the players. Reporters pressed Tomlin for more information about what he learned about this technique and whether it would continue to be used with the team. His response? Nothing. No new information whatsoever. He shut that line of questioning down completely. Now, whether that's because there's an ongoing investigation, or because it's a medical privacy issue, or because he genuinely doesn't know yet, we can't say for sure. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on as the week progresses. Let's shift focus to some of the young talent that's been developing nicely. Jack Sawyer, the rookie edge rusher, has been making plays on special teams and starting to see more defensive snaps. When asked about his progression and whether he could be leaned on more heavily against a tough opponent like Penei Sewell, one of the best offensive tackles in football, Tomlin had great things to say. He pointed out that a lot of young quality defenders make their mark initially on special teams and then transfer that playmaking ability to defense when given opportunities. Sawyer has already made some impressive plays. He's got a sack and an interception on the year, which is pretty remarkable for a rookie who's mostly been playing special teams. Tomlin said he wouldn't be surprised at all if Sawyer displayed readiness for an expanded role this week. That's high praise from a coach who doesn't hand out compliments easily. If the Steelers are thin on the edge due to injuries, don't be shocked if you see number whatever Sawyer wears getting significant snaps against Detroit. Now here's a fun tactical question that got asked. Do the Steelers have to alter their defensive preparation when facing a coach as aggressive on fourth down as Dan Campbell? Campbell has become legendary for his aggressive decision-making. The guy goes for it on fourth down in situations where most coaches would never even consider it. But Tomlin's answer was classic. He said no, not really. His philosophy is simple. You don't get an opportunity to win fourth down until you win third down. So the Steelers prepare to dominate third down, and if they do that, fourth down becomes irrelevant. That's such a perfect encapsulation of Tomlin's defensive philosophy. Don't worry about the situation. Just win your individual matchup and execute your assignment. If you do that consistently, the downs and distances take care of themselves. On the offensive side, there's been a lot of talk about the tush push or the quarterback sneak play that the Steelers have been running with Connor Hayward. When asked if this has become more reliable and how it impacts situational decision-making, Tomlin pointed out that it's been reliable the whole time. They've only failed once, and that was in Chicago. He went into detail about why this play works so well for them, and it all comes down to tight end versatility. Darnell Washington is a point-of-attack run blocker who can move defenders. John from some team is excellent after the catch, and they've been using him on screens and tosses. Pat Freiermuth is a zone killer who finds soft spots. And Connor Hayward? He's a jack of all trades, a four-phase special teamer who does all the dirty work. Having that kind of depth and diversity at tight end allows the Steelers to run plays that other teams simply can't execute. That's roster construction paying off. Defensively, there was an interesting comment from Patrick Queen about guys committing to their jobs and not trying to jump out of their assignments to make plays. This is huge, Steelers fans. One of the biggest issues earlier in the season was guys freelancing, trying to do too much, and leaving gaps in the defense. But over the last several weeks, there's been much better discipline. When asked how he, as a head coach, fixes that kind of problem, Tomlin talked about continuity. When you're constantly shuffling players in and out, you can't develop continuity. But over the last several weeks, they've established some stability, particularly on the back end. Moving Jalen Johnson to free safety full-time and acquiring Dante Jackson in a trade helped create that continuity. And once you have that foundation, you can have real conversations about technique and assignment discipline. The defense has gotten better, and Tomlin expects that improvement to continue as long as they maintain continuity. There was also discussion about Dylan Cook, who apparently played well in his opportunity. When asked if Cook played well enough to keep his role even when other players get healthy, Tomlin said they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. But he did acknowledge that Cook represented himself well and was part of a successful winning effort. The Steelers helped him schematically, but that's their job. This is one of those situations where a player gets thrust into action due to injury and makes the most of his opportunity. Competition makes everyone better, and if Cook keeps playing well, the coaching staff will have some interesting decisions to make. On the injury front, there was mention of Pierre potentially coming back. When asked if he automatically becomes the top outside corner when cleared, Tomlin again said they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. Same thing with Isaac Sumalo, the starting guard who's dealing with a hamstring issue. Tomlin hadn't gotten a thorough update yet on whether it was a brand new injury or a re-aggravation of something from earlier in the year. If Sumalo can't play, they might move Spencer Anderson to guard, or they might keep him in his current role and bring in Ryan McCollum like they did as an in-game adjustment. With a full week to prepare, they have options. But Tomlin made it clear he's not ready to rule out Sumalo just yet. Finally, let's talk about some of the veteran additions who've been making an impact. There was praise for a player named Sante who played every single snap a couple weeks ago, despite not having played a game in 15 months. That's absolutely remarkable. When asked if he was monitoring the conditioning aspect of that, Tomlin said he honestly wasn't even watching it. Why? Because this player is the type of guy who stays in shape 12 months a year. Most corners are like that. They're professional athletes who take their conditioning seriously. Plus, this player was an every-down player with his previous team, so playing a full game wasn't foreign to him. That's the benefit of adding experienced veterans. They know how to prepare their bodies. They know what it takes to play at a high level, and they don't need their hands held. Adam Thielen also got some love. When asked what he provides when he's not getting targeted, Tomlin talked about how excited Thielen is to be here and how he's a hands-in-the-pile guy who impacts the game beyond just catching passes. His blocking in the run game has been active and physical. The quarterback even praised both Thielen and Hardman for their detailed work and timing. That's what veteran players bring. They set the tone with their preparation and professionalism, and younger players take notice. Steelers fans, here's the bottom line. This team is hitting its stride at exactly the right time. They're getting healthier, they're playing with better continuity and discipline, and the coaching staff is making smart adjustments week to week. Detroit is going to be a massive test. That running back duo is elite. Their offensive line is one of the best in football, and Dan Campbell is as aggressive as they come. But if the Steelers can execute their game plan, dominate third down on defense, continue their third quarter excellence, and get some of their injured stars back, watch out, NFL, this team is dangerous. Make sure you're subscribed because we'll have full breakdowns of the Detroit game, injury updates throughout the week, and all the latest Steelers news you need. Let's go Steelers!